A specific bourbon that you're going.
Honestly, I'm gonna get the Double Oak, which is what we had when I last saw you. The Woodford Double Oak, which is just like a $50 bottle, but for $50 is really good. For my money, like like there's always like the $50-$60 bottles that are pretty good, but take like a mediocre bourbon like Woodford or Bullet or even Jack and just buy whatever their step up of what their normal is always really good. It's the same theory I have as why if you want to get a good burger, go somewhere that makes a mediocre steak. So
okay,
like, I went to Outback and I was like, oh, this burger's delicious.
Okay, so you're saying like somebody's like, hey, let's go to Longhorn. You're getting like a bacon cheeseburger at Longhorn. That's what you're saying.
Not necessarily, but if I was craving a burger and I wanted to go to like a sit down restaurant, yeah. But obviously now there's just like, I live close enough to the city, I can go to a nice, but when chain places are the only option, is what I mean.
So, all right, get Outback, Texas Roadhouse, Longhorn.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff.
What's the I have a ranking
for like just overall
out of those three.
What, run them back to me again?
Outback, Texas Roadhouse, and Longhorn.
It's probably Longhorn, Roadhouse, Outback.
I'm right there with you. Is exactly.
Whoa!
I am in
Texas Roadhouse isn't first.
No,
I mean the bread's great, but I'm not going to a place because of the bread.
Okay.
Thank you.
So here's the thing. I feel like my whole life I've put Texas Roadhouse on this very specific pedestal that it was only for special occasions. So maybe I'm wrong. Because I gotta be honest with you, it's been, I don't know. I think Mary and I went there on a date 6 months into our relationship. That's the last time I've been to a Texas Roadhouse. So we're talking 7 years.
I used to be that way with Outback, in that hey Corey, where do you want to go for your birthday dinner? I was like, let's go to Outback Steakhouse. And I would put on a polo shirt and some khaki pants, and like, because
the ladies are there.
Well, like, I'm gonna be looking good. It's my birthday. I'm 12, and we are going to a nice dinner at Outback Steakhouse. And the more I've gotten older and the more I've gone to Outback Steakhouse, it's just expensive Applebee's is kind of where I've landed on Outback. Like Texas Roadhouse does get the notch up because of the bread, though. Like, let me be honest, that's why it's 2. But
you can pick your steak too.
When it comes to the steak itself and the seasoning, it's Longhorn. It's Longhorn by a mile.
But Outback is good for non-steak products.
Dude,
like give me a nice bloomin' onion.
Dude, I would say that Outback is up there as the coldest draft beers that you can get at a restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
Twin Peaks. You ever been there?
I've never been to one.
Do you know what it is?
I am familiar. There's one in Westchester now, and I drove by it.
It's just Northern Hooters.
Yeah. I drove by it to my nephew's basketball game for his senior night, and Mary's like, "What's Twin Peaks?" And I was like, "You want to find out?
Let's check it out."
Yeah. She's like, "Could Declan go there?" I'm like, "Fuck, all right."
So Myrtle Beach is the city that kind of like personifies Hooters, I would say. I think it's where it originated as well.
Is it?
What's the city that what city personifies Twin Peaks though?
St. Paul, Minnesota.
That's a good one. That's a good answer. No, I don't know it to be very mountainous, but I'm with you on that.
Because I wanted to say like Aspen or Denver, because Aspen's too nice. But like
Seattle makes sense, or like yeah, they're too nice. You know what I mean? Because you kind of Myrtle Beach, you got a little bit of that trailer in there. You know?
Yeah, there's definitely some amphetamines trickling around Myrtle Beach.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Clearwater, Florida.
That's where. Okay.
Clearwater.
That makes
Florida.
sense too.
All right.
So, yeah, it's got to be like Frisco, Colorado, or like Breckenridge, Colorado, or something like that, where you've got your nice, but you've got your lifties that live out there as well. Ryan joined the stream. What's up, buddy? What's up, neighbor? How you doing, bud? Thanks for dropping by. If you're just joining the stream, you can see that it is the three of us. Bobby, we're raising money tonight. He is in jail, so we're trying to pay off his bond. If you can just go ahead and donate that, that'd be great. Trying to bail him out. We're not going to disclose or talk about why he's there. It's just, it's an unfortunate series.
It's best that you don't know.
Yeah, it's best that you don't know for the pod. Open forum tonight, chat. If you're coming by, what do you want to talk about? We'll talk about it. We currently are discussing if there is a town that personifies the chain restaurant Twin Peaks, what is that town? Aaron mentioned Hooters, personified by Myrtle Beach or Clearwater, Florida. I think you kind of get the same.
Yeah, you kind of get the same trailer trash.
Similar vibe. You have probably the equal amount of people too who have attempted some sort of rehabilitation that have had to now become what maybe we can call them vagabonds, vagrants, slums,
dirty toenails.
Yeah. There's certainly one shoe is different than the other. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I think of. My experience with Myrtle Beach, a specific memory I have of Myrtle Beach is going into a bar, and there's just something called the blackout shot.
Nice.
And I just thought,
good start.
I thought, why not?
I'm home.
The lady behind the lady got the shot ready, and she was like, "You will be very drunk after this." And I said, "Good. I'm ready to be there." It's 6:30. I wake up the next morning at 10 a.m. with, legitimately one shoe on, one shoe off on the floor. Don't remember how I got home. It held true to its word. But the one thing I do remember from that evening is we were at an outdoor concert, and a lady with no teeth approached me and asked me for a cigarette. And I thought, this is exactly what I thought Myrtle Beach was going to be.
Saginaw, Michigan. Maybe that's
rough.
Yeah, Sagnasty. Maybe that personifies Twin Peaks.
Yeah,
I think that's what.
There needs to be some fishing close by.
You got that. The Zilwaukee River. You got plenty of water nearby. Good old Saginaw.
All right, let's talk about this. What is we're talking, we talked about birthday, when you're young on your birthday, Outback was your restaurant, Corey. What's the restaurant of your childhood that makes you think or you thought of this, I'm here for something very important, whether it's a high school graduation, maybe you got your first varsity letter, whatever it was. What's that restaurant in your childhood?
Benihana.
I was just going to say a hibachi.
Yeah, dude. Benihana was the.
Well, there was one. There was one by us.
It was Tri-County, right?
Just by Tri-County Mall, and that was a fun fact. I did not have a Benihana go to a Benihana or a hibachi until I was 23 years old.
Holy shit! Have you been to one lately?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Not great.
Yeah, not great. I think quality of the hibachi environment changed significantly post COVID. Did not bounce back.
That there's a couple of things floating around in terms of factors of hibachi experience. There's that for sure. 2, lack of enthusiasm from the chefs. Now this could be a combination of lack of enthusiasm out of these chefs, or I am just so tainted, jaded, and the spark in my life is gone. That's
your
the other.
Childhood rose-colored glasses are just off now.
Yeah, they've been taken away, and just kind of half-assing the choo-choo train of onions across the hibachi grill.
The volcano.
You want better for your kids. That's ultimately what you're saying.
You know what? We went there on. Valentine's Day. We did a family Valentine's Day to hibachi. It's Katie's favorite spot to go for dinner is still hibachi first. She loves it. The food's good. So we didn't go to Benihana. We local hibachi spot. And the kids absolutely love it when they throw the grease down and light it on fire. And they're like, holy shit, this is legal. Yeah, they absolutely loved it.
No, keep it down.
Yeah.
Don't tell grandma and grandpa.
What was the spot? What was the spot for you, Ty? What were you like? This is the restaurant for me.
Dude, it was Red Lobster. It was Red Lobster.
You had that hookup too with Bob.
Whoa.
I think I'm learning about Todd is what bread is served prior to
Right. Well, there's some connection to that. I could share that story after I kind of give the deep dive here. But that was my grandparents for every birthday. They lived like Middletown adjacent, Aaron, and Middletown is kind of like a northern suburb, kind of the middle. It's right between Cincinnati and Dayton, right? They lived kind of adjacent to that. So if we went to Red Lobster, the only one was by the Dayton Mall. So that meant Grandma and Grandpa are taking me to the mall, and I'm getting something.
To Rouge Lobster.
Yeah. So that was my yearly birthday celebration with them. And again, I have not been to a Red Lobster since. Honestly, I think the last time I went was for my mom's birthday, and Bobby was our server. So 2012, 11.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That hits so hard. Go ahead. Sorry, finish.
Well, I was just going to say that bread is important to me because I like to soak. I like to get a good soak going with. Maybe, look, we're not at BYU. We're not talking Brigham Young stuff here. We're talking
who's bouncing the bed.
But I'm saying I need to get like 2 baskets of bread in my belly, and then I have a main course, and then almost guaranteed dessert right after. I'm a big bread guy. Big bread before dinner.
My mom joining the pod. What's up, Mom? Hey.
You remember
TGI Friday? That was a post church, like TGI Fridays, Ruby Tuesdays after church.
Ours was like Cheesecake Factory, and like that was one. That was like the day class A.
Oh yeah,
spot. Or it was like you got to put on your khakis.
Yeah.
No,
you better not have fucking pockets on these khakis either. Those better be flat front pants, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. And it was fantastic. But Todd, you actually brought something up that I just think is an interesting transition. Did you guys all grow up with like your grandparents around relatively, like as a kid? Okay. So Todd, you just talked about how like going to Red Lobster or like going to the mall with your grandparents, and obviously they're getting you something. I think one thing that we're so far away from now is when we were children, and I think a lot of it has to do with like the economy we're in now, but the nostalgia I have for the stupid money grandparents had, where they're like, "Yeah, fuck your parents. What do you want?"
hey, guess what? That still happens.
They had to be like hard ass. No, I know they had to be like hard ass the whole time, like with our parents. Yeah. And as like grandparents, it's like, I'm retired. I'm done here.
Yeah. It's like,
how much candy can I give this child?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and
I just for sure.
What simpler times? And I just wonder if children, and you actually, Corey, you're answering my question then.
Yeah, it'll
happen.
You procreate, your parents, the grandparents of your children will absolutely reciprocate that. And part of it has to be part of like, check this out, watch this shit.
I just love that. There's always like,
it does kind of feel that way though, right?
Like for Christmas, my parents got great, you know what I mean? Like they give us great shit. But this like grandma and grandpa N64.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean? Where they're just like, what is this? What does he want?
Digital camera. It's like, oh my god, yeah,
like a DVD player, like the year that was a thing.
Go ahead. Sorry. No, one of my best young Christmas gifts was a 6 CD stereo system, and
that was elite. The 6.
I mean, LimeWire exploded on the family computer as soon as that thing got brought into the house. I mean, like maybe 3 or 4 months ago when I was at my parents' house, I found the CDs. Fellas, I had all
the Burn CDs that you made.
Dude, I had a David Banner mixtape, Burn CD, and I threw that thing on, and it was 2007 again, fellas.
You're listening to Kiss 107.
Yeah, standing in my room listening to that stereo system. I mean, it was super nostalgic, incredibly nostalgic.
All right, so Rob blew the cover. Bobby liked the stream. He's not in jail. Fine.
It's good Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Oh, maybe. Yeah. You can keep the facade.
It's in the confines of his own.
Listen, we can't disclose what he did, but it's white collar. He still has his phone.
Yeah, he still has his phone. He's in like Martha Stewart jail.
Yeah. He's exactly. It's fine.
Have you?
He has a beanbag chair.
Have you guys heard the endless shrimp story?
I don't know.
It's a fictional story. It's a little long-winded. I'm not sure how good it would be for a live stream, but it is.
All right.
I we can give it a shot if it's probably a solid 4 minutes of me just straight reading, but it is, if you haven't checked it out, the Endless Shrimp Nightmare is probably one of the most well-written, funniest stories. Go check it out. I'll drop the link in the chat.
Perfect.
I'd like some endless shrimp,
dude. After this
story,
you're on a time limit for endless shrimp now, buddy. You don't get to just hang out, eat endless shrimp anymore.
Wait, run this back now?
Yeah, so Red Lobster.
Bobby, get somebody on the phone.
Todd still gets the email updates.
yeah, dude. I'm in the ether.
Hey, Mary, they're changing the fucking Cheddar Bay bitch.
Yeah.
I got push notifications on.
If you guys want a sneak peek into what Pillow talks like with me, it's fucking see the endless shrimps. They're changing endless shrimp. Man, this is bullshit.
So now it's just a race. It's like Todd rolls up to the Red Lobster, sits down at the table, and he becomes Matthew McConaughey in Wolf of Wall Street. He's like, I want you to bring me 2 plates of shrimp, and then every 3 1/4 minute, bring me 2 more plates of shrimp till one of us fucking passes out. And then throws him $100 bill. And then just starts
what I think happens is if I'm sitting down to eat a timed endless shrimp, I'm like a Formula One car at a dirt track. They're slowing me down on purpose.
They are.
Right. And it's purely intentional. And I think that let's ask, when's the last time you guys went to a legitimate, like, all you can eat buffet?
Probably about 2-3 years ago, Chinese buffet for sure.
I don't think I've been to one since COVID. And I don't really think it has much to do with that other than the fact that, like...
No, I think I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
If not, just like we rolled the dice and it's like right after. I don't know. Maybe it's right before.
You ever just like, it's just like how you like the saying, you don't want to see how the sausage is made. And not that I did that, but it was just the thought of a buffet after kind of like all of the like hand wash and like, I was like, that was probably not great.
Yeah, I remember when the people not washing their hands that just rolled. Yeah.
So the 3 of us are all in business settings. Do you guys you still shake hands at meetings and stuff now? Like,
I work from home, but I shake hands.
Yeah, okay. Trying to think of other dynamic, like that's you mentioned. I'm trying to think of like other things that have kind of just like you've shut off in the brain since then.
I did just recently have a introduction where the guy was like, "Oh, let's do an elbow," and I was like, "Pussy!" And I immediately was like, I've lost 3 points of respect for this dude, and I forgot in that moment, right? And in that moment, because I mean, I think we're all kind of in that age range where like a handshake can go a long way, fellas. I mean, Hank Hill said it best, right? You get that limp hand, you're immediately questioning everything about the character of that individual. And when he
thanks for liking the stream.
When he threw that elbow up, I didn't reciprocate. And I was like, sorry, don't worry about it.
What is it? He shook George W. Bush's hand, and it was a soft handshake. And he lost respect for him.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, the handshake is that's so crazy to think about like 2 years ago in a work meeting when you're walking into an office and every other chair is vacant, right? And there's fist bumps or like you're doing the head nod from across. It's so wild to think that I remember when it first happened.
Handshake though, it feels like lightning strikes your hand.
That's what I'm saying. When you get a good handshake, you're like, fuck yeah, dude. And you talk to that guy.
You acknowledge it sometimes. You're like, I'll be honest, that was a good one.
Whoa, yeah.
And then you make the mistake of like, let's see if we can do it again. You can't. Just don't. Move on.
Or like the magical pop.
Yeah.
With the
boo. Yeah.
One of those bad boys right there.
True.
Oh, opening day on the docket tomorrow, boys. It doesn't feel like it. I don't feel like baseball's about to start.
You know why?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because baseball has done a shit job of getting you ready to watch baseball.
That's what I was just going to ask about. The season has started.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they had 2 games in
the
South
Dodgers
Korea.
played games in Korea that counted.
Yeah,
exactly.
Nope. Had no idea.
If you go to ESPN right now, you have to hit the 3 dots to get to MLB. Now, granted, a lot of that has to do right now with the fact that NCAA March Madness is going on, and there's 2 different tabs for men's and women's. And I would argue right now that women's college basketball is more popular than MLB.
Isn't
I don't
that
think
a
we've
crazy phrase?
I don't think we've ever been in a state where it's people would rather tune into any women's sport over men, maybe outside of like an Olympic setting.
Now, is this Caitlin Clark, or is this a MLB being bad, or is it a combination?
I think there's a
MLB marketing, right? Like that's what I mean. MLB
Yeah.
marketing being bad, not necessarily the product that's actually on the field. Because I actually think baseball is more enjoyable to watch now with the pitch clock. I think it is, you know, the game moves faster, which is nice. But like, we've talked about this for like a couple of years. They are the worst sport at marketing their players. It's not even close.
Yeah. No question.
Yeah, well, they don't have anybody to do it right now, right? The person that they were kind of initially hitching the wagon to a couple years ago was Fernando Tatis Jr. Then steroids, right? So, and then
just a little steroids, like
and then there's kind of been a lull because there hasn't really been an American athlete who's well spoken, who likes being in the public eye to kind of step up and get into that role. So then obviously you have an international superstar pop in, and now that's completely overshadowed by all the shit that's going on, you know, with his best friend / interpreter. So baseball's just kind of whiffed on finding someone to hitch the wagon to and build around, because and we're kind of spoiled because we had Ken Griffey Jr. and
Mark McGwire, Barry Bonds.
Yeah, like we had guys that made baseball bigger than it had been since the 30s, right? Like it had never been as big as it was until 1997 when you had the home run race. It just hadn't, and it was the most necessary time in the history of the sport because of the lockout, and that's why it took 6 years for baseball to be like, all right, guys, stop doing steroids. It's very obvious.
So brings me to a hypothetical here. In recent years, some successfully, some unsuccessfully, some have served their purpose, most of which is just causing not necessarily chaos, but turbulence, or they're shaking things up within the sport. You have seen rise of separate leagues. The XFL and the USFL obviously have merged, and their purpose has been, semi-farm system for the NFL, another shot for guys to kind of work on their game or get exposure to get promoted up. New rules are tested there, as you're seeing. The new kickoff is being implemented in the NFL that was developed there in those leagues. Or you have the LIV that is kind of just throwing cash at good golfers and doing less events, and it's more casual and all of these types of things. That served its purpose as well. You know, I'm sure that you'll see some sort of kind of the minimum standards of pay will increase, and you know they'll have different things to make things easier on the golf, whatever. The purpose is being served. There's a reason the merger happened between the PGA and the LIV Tour. And then you have this talk of this world games that is going to allow athletes to use performance enhancing drugs, and they're going to be able to use steroids and all of these things that allow them to just, perform at their highest level. Is there a point? And I guess you kind of see a little bit, not so much, but like the Savannah Bananas are like the Harlem Globetrotters basically of baseball, but like they're fun to watch and people enjoy them and they sell out their tickets and all of this stuff. And I'm not saying to that extent. I'm not saying to make it a mockery or like anything like that, but
it's just like a show.
It's a show. Exactly. That's not what I mean. They're not like the sanctity of the game doesn't exist because they're not really.
If you're going to take your kids to a game, what do you think is going to keep their attention more? Going to a Reds game or going to a Savannah?
100%.
Yeah.
not a fair fight. One of my kids' names is Savannah, so it's not a fair fight. But nonetheless, I think, do you get a rise to like a competitive league to the MLB where they just throw a bunch of cash at it and they're gonna pull in guys, maybe fringe guys like Trevor Bauer or something, these guys that are on the outside looking in that could come in and play well and attract eyes, and they just kind of change things up. I don't know. The MLB is such a long-standing institution that it would be hard to argue that something else would be successful, but it could serve a purpose to kind of shake things up for the MLB. Is it time for something like that, Todd?
I don't know, man. I mean, Major League Baseball was the first like intercontinental sport in the United States too, so it would be hard to find some sort of, I mean, even parallel competition. I think they've tried, like, go through spring training. There have been international teams. Like there's a team that plays out of Japan that's like they travel around the world and they play basically the best teams around. And then the Mexico Diablos they signed Trevor Bauer and Robinson Cano to play against the Yankees. And, that's the best players of that league playing on that team. The Diablos are basically the Yankees of that professional league. The owner has ridiculous amounts of question mark money that he throws at this organization. Their stadium is, I highly recommend looking them up after we get done. Like the stadium is ridiculous. It's a luxury resort for baseball.
I imagine Kenny Powers actually played.
Correct. So yeah, that's exactly right. Imagine Kenny Power like eastbound and down, and that's it. I don't think that baseball has the respect internationally that other big sports have anymore either. Other specific countries do, right? Like I think Japan still very much respects the game of baseball. It's still the largest sport that they have in the country. I think South Korea respects the game a lot, but they've tried to turn professional leagues into Europe and it hasn't really panned out. And there's, if you watch the World Baseball Classic, the players that play on the European teams are all mostly MLB players that lead that roster that, qualify for the nation based on their family. There's not really any standout players in Europe, and that impacts, I think it impacts baseball a lot, because look at basketball. Some of the two of the top 5 best players in the NBA are European, and
you could even expand further than that if you wanted to be like 6 of the top 20.
Right.
Like,
So I just think it's too, baseball is too specific to the like Latin American countries and then the United States, and then obviously like the Asia Pacific. It would have to be, they would have to kind of do similarly what they did with LIV, where they would have to pull players from Major League Baseball and be like, hey, we're going to give you an uncomfortable amount of money to catalyst this thing.
Yeah.
And just let's let it ride and see what happens. But Major League Baseball is not the PGA. They won't bend.
And there's also too many players. Like golf is easy because you can.
Yeah, you just need 2 guys. Really.
And it's an individual sport. Like even the XFL, USFL, all of those, like although have existed, there's a reason they've been folding and combining, because although they're playing, like they're not really successful.
Yeah, starts on Saturday.
LIV just has a wide open bank account.
Yeah, and the other part that as we were talking about this, the other part that would make it really hard, when I was thinking about like the USFL, they play when football doesn't. So they go spring into summer. There's not really the possibility of doing that with baseball, in that they play literally all of the time that you could possibly play baseball. Like
correct.
They start when it's too cold and they end when it's too cold. Correct. Right? So there's not really a time frame to where you'd be off season. Like you're not going to be having people out in Chicago in the middle of December out there playing football or playing baseball. It's just, no one's signing up for that.
Yeah. I just think Major League Baseball, unfortunately, has just done such a bad job in the 2010s and into the 2020s of marketing the sport that it's just, it is what it is.
How is it that the powers that be can look at that and look at the results. Obviously, success to the TV deals is pretty apparent. They're making a lot of money through that.
Mm-hmm.
But looking at other sports and looking at the marketability of other sports and that they're being outshined by, no slight to this, but an odd sentence to say, women's college basketball is outshining Major League Baseball right now. How could you look at that and then not question the commissioner of the league?
Well, he is stepping down in what, a couple years?
2028. So there's time. Yeah.
That's a long time to
completely. Yeah. Honestly, dude, I think it's a great question, and I don't know if there's. I think a lot of it just comes back to. I mean,
just old white dudes with money.
Yeah, that's honestly, that's kind of it. I mean, baseball is really the biggest professional, or the professional organization in the United States where, you don't have to be, a Steve Ballmer or something like that to own a team, but you make a shit ton of money because there's 6 or 7 teams that pay their players so much money that you get to make. The Reds made $8 million from the Mets just off the rip for the competitive luxury tax, right? Mm. And that's spread across at 8 teams or 12 teams got $8 million or approximately $8 million, and they get that every year.
And then don't use it.
Yeah, correct. Right, and that's pocketed, right? And then if you
blows my fucking mind.
And if you could balance a roster, no. So the Oakland A's this year are going to field a roster of 26 people making less than $1 million. So the salary for this season is going to be like 23 and some change for a 26-man roster.
Well, and am I incorrect? The team has been sold, right?
Well, they're relocating.
Okay, so they haven't sold.
No, same owner. They're just relocating. They're going to Vegas.
Well, yeah, I know. I understand that. It was just I didn't know if a selling of the team had taken place.
Nope.
He's just and this move isn't happening till 25, 26.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they got to build the stadium, and they're building the stadium like pretty much in the heart of downtown Vegas. I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen the renderings. It's going to look like the Sydney Opera House. That's kind of the presentation that they're going for. Yeah, it looks cool. And it's going to be, a $4 billion investment into the city of Vegas. And the mayor of Las Vegas was like, if they could stay at Oakland if they want to, we don't really necessarily need a professional baseball team here. It's already hard to get in and out of Vegas as it is.
Mm-hmm.
But, the owner of the A's has basically said, like, yeah, you got to write it out for a couple of years, and then we'll reinvest when the time is right. They just have there's a reason why Oakland is not a good city anymore, right? Like, it's just not a safe city to go visit and watch baseball. And also the A's stadium was built in the era of let's play football and baseball and, let's host any sort of international event we can on this field. And it's just not, it's aesthetically not good. It doesn't look good. And once ticket sales go down, that means that the maintenance of the facility goes down. And I mean, if you put somebody in a pig pen, they're going to get dirty, right? It's the same thing for a fan. If they go to a stadium and they sit in a broken chair, they're like, well, fuck that. I'm not going back to that. And that's basically what Oakland's been doing since 2012. Just having people sit in broken chairs. And, baseball said, whoa, shit, we got to do something about this. And the owner's like, cool, we'll move to Vegas. And then Vegas like, no, you're not. They're like, too late. We already bought the property. Let's go. That's basically what's happened. But baseball's trying to expand too. They're trying to, in the next 5 years, they want to expand into Salt Lake City and Nashville. And Salt Lake City to me is the best place to put a baseball stadium right now, or to put a professional baseball team right now, because,
it's just hard to argue for expansion of the MLB when we're talking here about how they have no marketable stars.
It is.
Meanwhile, like the NBA, for instance, I think has the most talent it's ever had across the board. Like, that would make sense to expand.
Sure.
Well,
I think they're going to, but yeah.
what I was gonna say is I was gonna push back a little bit because I think there's like I'll be a homer for a minute. Like Ellie De La Cruz is a very marketable guy. Like he's an extremely marketable player. He's fast, he's strong, he can play all over the field, he steals
he's dynamic.
He's very dynamic, exactly. Like it wouldn't shock me if he was on the cover of the show. Like it wouldn't shock me at all.
Yeah.
Because he makes a lot of sense to market. He's flashy, he's got, cool hair and shiny jewelry and he's also really good at baseball. Like
now he's a Jordan brand guy, which is even better. Because that's the pinnacle brand for an athlete. Is it once you get to wear the Jumpman logo, you're at the top of the food chain. You're right though. I think there are some guys right now that are about to make their entrance into baseball that are bigger impact guys, right? Like Wyatt Langford for the Rangers, a former Florida Gator. I think that once he likely wins the AL Rookie of the Year, you'll see him get into a lot more being the face. They also have another guy, Evan Carter in Texas, that could do the same thing. Dylan Cruz for the Nationals is a very, very, he takes as many interviews, does as many podcasts. Like baseball, unfortunately, just hit a bad crop of young athletes from like 2017 to 2021, where they're just the guys that were still being superstars at that time frame were already like into their second contract in baseball.
Yeah.
Like a Mike Trout, for example, or like a Bryce Harper. So they're like, I don't need to be the face of this. I've already, I've settled in and I've made this $250 million contract and I'm going to start my family and I'm going to become a family guy, which is what those guys decided to do. And there was honestly, fellas, there's kind of been there was a talent drop for a little bit too. There was some disparity between the best players in baseball and then the next level. And I think that's a big part of it.
And I don't necessarily know that there definitely isn't a talent drop in the NBA. And that's not what I'm about to say, but like, because I think that there hasn't been more talent available in the world for basketball at this current time. But it is kind of interesting looking at the NBA. And I think what it really does is it shows how much better the NBA is at kind of marketing their product and their league. And that I don't really know that we have a face of the NBA right now. Like, I don't really like LeBron and Steph. I
still would say they're the face.
You know what I'm saying though? Like they're clearly almost done. Like,
so I think the bar is, do non-sports fans know who you're talking about?
The point of what I'm saying is like the people that are marketed right now, or let's say that it's Steph and it's LeBron are the face of the NBA right now. Like, let's say that that's the case. One, the fact that you have two means you have none. And
no. And what about like when it was Bird Magic?
I would say Magic was more so.
Okay, fine, but one of those is probably more like LeBron is more so.
Sure. Okay. All right. Fair enough. The point remains though that like these guys currently are not at the peak of their game, and yet they're the face of the league, and that the NBA has still been able to grow regardless of that fact that the face of the league, or the association rather, is not the best players in the league at the moment. And they're able to still kind of rise and grow through that. They don't need to just jump on to whoever the hot player at the moment is. Sure, there'll be Gatorade deals for the guys that are, but like in terms of the face of the league, who is that of baseball right now? I couldn't tell you. I could not tell you.
I would still say it's Shohei.
Yeah, it is. Right now it is Shohei, but now obviously what's going on puts a real damper on things.
Yeah,
but yeah, and honestly, guys, I think one of the big things too for baseball is it's expensive. It's incredibly expensive to have all of the not necessarily just the tangible items, because the glove, the cleats, the bat, all that shit. Like a good glove now is $400. An adult men's aluminum bat is $400 to $500. Right? A pair of cleats is, we know a pair of shoes is $100, bare minimum, basically. Right. Whereas in basketball, if you are able to capture or recognize that there is talent in front of you, and maybe they come from an impoverished community, there are enough people that have already established AAU programs or inner city programs that develop these young guys that becomes a free sport for them. Whereas baseball, it's really, really hard to do that. Major League Baseball tried. They created the RBI program to go into the worst parts of the cities that major league organizations are in and put teams together. And it started when we were in high school, and we would play the RBI Reds and the RBI Indians, and we would beat them by 30. And this is 15 guys from 2 high schools beating the best talent of the inner city of Cincinnati and the inner city of Cleveland. And yeah, maybe there were 1 or 2 really good guys that got, Division II scholarships on those teams, but Major League Baseball tried to do it, and it just failed. They've done such a poor job of integration into the non-middle class and upper middle class communities that they rely so heavily on the talent that comes from Latin America and Central America that, I mean, if you listen to like Darryl Strawberry, Eric Davis, or Doc Gooden, or even Griffey's not a great example because he's kind of he had the golden spoon, but
yeah,
there's not a lot of super successful American-born Black baseball players right now. There's just not, because it's not integrated into the community like it once was, because people aren't trying anymore.
Well, and I think it's all there's so many hoops to jump through in order to play at the top level of baseball now. And I think one of our big listeners, Ryan, has commented on this before, and kind of some of the things that he's had to deal with in coaching is like just the constant demand in terms of travel and new uniforms and new gear and all, and everything that comes with just playing a game. Playing it at the highest level at your age bracket involves so much more than just let's line up on a field. Like there's so many other things that go into that, not to mention the practices that go into that and the commuting and everything that takes place with, getting the athletes to, the field that they're going to be playing at. So there's a shit ton of stuff that goes into it. And it's just, it's interesting. It's interesting to say, just to kind of step back and look at it, because I think all of us played baseball. Like all of us played baseball growing up. Todd, you played through high school. Aaron, you did too, I believe. Like,
yeah, it was the sport I played the most.
Yeah, and
played it for like 3 seasons a year.
And Todd, I know I would say you probably watch more baseball than Aaron and I combined.
Oh yeah.
And sure. it's
doing fantasy this year though, so I'll be dialed in.
Yeah, sure, till August. And like that's my rub with
a long time.
Dude, that's the thing about baseball too, is like I do think that the season is too long. Like it's
too long.
It's hard to be engaged for that long in the season.
I agree.
It really is. And that's anything. That'd be any sport. If basketball was 160 games, if basketball was 120 games, I already have trouble engaging in the NBA at 82 games for a full season.
It is. I do too. I don't watch all the Cavs games. I watch a handful, to be honest. I'm dialed in though. Like I'm always paying attention or looking at box scores, seeing what's kind of going on, even when I miss. But with baseball, you're right. I mean, especially when your team is bad.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare.
Baseball is the worst because you have to not only sit through the whole season. It's not like the NBA or the NFL where it's like, all right, this guy's
we're gonna get somebody good next year.
He's the rookie. I can pay attention to. It's like, all right, we drafted this guy. Now let's wait 5 years for him to make his league. Not to mention the MLB does the draft in the middle of the fucking season.
Well, the NBA does that too.
No, the season is over. It's like 2 weeks after the finals, but the season is over.
Yeah. Okay. Baseball does their draft on All-Star Weekend now, or basically leading into All-Star Weekend.
So bizarre.
Which fine if that's.
I'm pretty sure hockey does as well. I'm pretty sure hockey drafts mid-season.
I don't like it. It doesn't. It just doesn't seem right. But yeah, it's there's not an instant gratification for baseball that there are in the other sports. From like all right, if my team's bad, I'm just like when the Cavs were bad, it was still really fun to tune in every night and watch Kyrie Irving and Tristan Thompson and Dion Waiters and like see all right, let's see how this works together. Or Darius Garland and Colin Sexton and oh, Jared Allen's here. Even when they're bad, there's still something to kind of look out for. Or I have a top 7 projected lottery pick. Let's see who the college guys are that can come in. Because in basketball, they can come in right away and be impactful.
Yeah.
I mean, you rarely, if ever, see that in baseball.
Yeah.
I mean, the only recent example I can think of is like the closest would be like Bryce Harper in Strasburg, I think.
What's up, Brian?
From the time I heard of them between when I actually saw them on the field.
Yeah, I mean, when the Reds drafted Mike Leake, that was the first person since like Joe Nuxall who had been drafted and played right away.
A-Rod did too, didn't he? I think
he
started right away. It's like a year.
Yeah, he got drafted in like 1993 and started playing in 96. I mean, Griffey did the same thing. He got drafted in 87 and was basically playing by the end of the 88 season. But yeah, you're right. I mean, if you're not already like
LA was only 2 years, right, when they signed him, right?
What's up, Brian?
He was 16 when they signed him. You just don't know. That's what I'm saying. He's been in there. There's I mean, the same thing with Novelli Marte. He was in the Mets organization, the Mariners organization, from basically his 15th birthday until the Reds.
How long did India take to come up? He was relatively quick, wasn't he?
Because he won a national championship with Florida, right? So that would have been 19. So that was 2 years.
I think he was relatively quick.
Yeah, and that's quick for sure.
Coming up,
right? And he was.
So you got a couple of guys.
Sure, but that you're talking that, and again, that's the difference between drafting a defined 3-year college player like this. Nick Senzel was the same way. He was the offensive player of the year in college baseball at Tennessee. He should have really, the Reds dicked around with him for a year. He should have been playing immediately for the Reds. Ultimately, I think it led to his demise. But and if you draft it like the Tigers, for example, they drafted Max Clark last year with their first pick. Mm-hmm. He had just turned 18. He's going to start this year in high A ball. And I mean, we might not see him until 2026, right? If he's a slow burn to integrate.
So right? India was 3 years. India was 3 years, by the way. He was drafted in 2018. And then he started for the Reds in 21.
Okay. Yeah, I knew he was a part of when they won the national championship. And Nick Lodolo, the same thing. He won 2 national championships, and then he played for the Reds right away too. Yeah. But again, that's the percentage of that is so slim, and also the MLB draft is a bazillion rounds.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a ridiculous amount. And last year they televised it on ESPN2. Like that's the most traction that you're getting for what used to be the top sport in the United States.
Well, because again, it's like, how do you follow the top prospects in such a widespread sport? Because there's kids out of high school getting drafted. You're just like, okay, well, I'll see you.
It's hard.
7 years,
there's this weird thing in baseball where it's like they drafted this high schooler. Oh, but actually, he's going to like
hockey the same way. Hockey's the same.
Yeah, hockey's the same.
Well, why do we draft him in the 3rd round then? It's not like you get to keep his rights.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. He as soon as they don't agree to a contract, they are not affiliated. They get there because they're going to play
catch
college.
And release game.
Yeah, it's weird. It's really weird.
It just doesn't make sense. Could you imagine if they did that in football?
So because
it's like if you declare, you're done. You're not coming back. The door is shut.
Well, as long as you don't sign an agent.
Well, but there's like a deadline too, and that's prior to the draft. It'd be one thing if it was after.
Yeah, so it's 2 weeks, right? When they have to
have their ducks in a row at least.
Yeah,
like it's silly, it's stupid. So we've kind of touched around it a little bit, and just to kind of.
All that said, Todd and I are going to the Reds game on Saturday.
So. That's awesome. Yeah, we are. You guys have the best time. Get a ballpark dog. Here's the thing: going to a baseball game still awesome. You're, probably not for when you guys go on Saturday, but like just being out in the sun, have a couple light beers. Like going to it's always like. A nice day out or anything.
Why not when we're going on Saturday?
I'm just saying weather-wise, like it's not.
Oh, it's 68. It's gonna be
but you know what I mean. Like for baseball, like we're still early in the season.
Yeah.
Like when it's like May, June, it's just gorgeous out.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to ask you guys is
69 on Saturday, Todd. Nice.
just to kind of change gears a little bit. So we touched on Ohtani a little bit. So I'm curious how you guys feel about this. Like if you can look in your crystal ball or go 5 years in the future? Because there's also talk right now with like the NCAA and March Madness about, Ohio's already done this, but banning player prop bets for college players. Just because of all the, there's so much gambling, like not backlash, but like residual effects we're starting to see now from it becoming such a legalized thing. And don't get me wrong, there have been gambling controversies forever.
Sure.
What do you think this looks like in like 5 years?
What
the landscape of, mobile sports gambling or just sports gambling in general in the United States. And the reason I ask this is I feel like we're at a point right now where we're going to look back in 5-10 years and be like, oh my God, we had doctors advertising cigarettes.
Yeah, no,
that seems stupid.
I'm kind of with you there. And like, also to be honest with you, I feel like I have severely drawn back my amount of sports betting.
Yeah. I still do it.
I've taken mine back pretty severely. Maybe that's just because the NFL's not on, but I would say that like I recognize that like the glitz and glam has worn off a bit for me.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I love talking about like props and like the science behind it because I'm just a numbers dude. Like I enjoy like the data part behind it, very much into that and kind of reading into it and seeing like, oh, like that looks like a good value there. Like, yeah, but in the same breath of like, yeah, Powerball's at 800 million. I'm going to buy a ticket. It's $2. Right. And that's kind of in that, obviously the odds of winning are much higher than 300 million to 1. But like, I'll buy a scratch off ticket is kind of the same vein as where I'm at on sports betting. So I do feel as though the public perception of mobile sports betting is going to shift away from this is just so fun and this is awesome because lives will be ruined from this. Addicts will be created or dug up through this. Like there are going to be negative consequences. There already have been, I assure you. There already have been negative consequences to this. Have you seen the movie Hardball by chance? Like there are gonna be things that just to come out of this shit that are going to result in some kind of guardrails or like the pendulum's going to swing back kind of. So what does it look like? I don't know. I just, in my head, it just is less popular. Like we don't all have 6 different fucking sports books on our phone.
Every segment isn't sponsored by FanDuel and Draft. Because that's the thing to me, it's the advertisement.
See, I don't know about that. I think that part stays in the same sense that like Bud Light presents like the same kind of fucking thing.
Yeah, because if you if you go to Ireland, I mean, obviously, I went to Ireland and England, and every 5th storefront is a place where you go in and play sports bets.
Yeah,
because it's always been legal. It's always been something that you can do, and the conversations that I had with people who lived there and watched football, for example, that was a question we were. At some event, and I was talking to the guy that was next to us, and he was talking to his friend about like fantasy football and money. And I was like, "How do you guys bet on games?" And he was like, "Oh, you just pop in and take 5 or 6 money lines, and that's it." I think that's kind of where we're gonna go. I think it's like anything that's new, right? It's super shiny, it's pretty, it's super sexy, and that's what it was for us because we've, people who like sports and also understand how to break down the sport itself are always looking for a way to make money off of doing that thing, right?
Yeah,
it's cool.
And exactly.
That's why we're here right now.
So for us, when we were able to start betting on sports, because Aaron can watch a Browns game and know X, Y, and Z, or Corey can Corey knows enough about golf that I can, bet on these 3 golfers and know I'm going to make my money back or double my money. But that's just going to go away because everybody's everyone's going to catch up to that and then it loses the. I mean, even if you look on like FanDuel and DraftKings, like even the boosted bets, it's all. It used to be like very incentivizing, and now it's just like, yeah, all right, I'm already putting a couple bucks down on a 4-legger. Let me just boost this thing up, right? Like, Bobby was up here. We watched college basketball Saturday, and he was like, "You want to put a parlay together?" And I was like, "Dude, I haven't bet in 2 months, easy, since prior to the Super Bowl." And then I had the itch for about 2 hours, and then I scratched that itch, and now I'm good.
Yeah,
I think that's eventually where we're going to get to. I think it's going to be something where like you meet up with your boys and you're like, "Oh shit, we're going to watch football all day. Let's try to make some money off this thing." Yeah. That's where eventually it's just like going to a casino, right?
Yep.
There's people that end up getting addicted to playing blackjack or whatever, and then they're there all the time and they constantly do it. They put themselves in a bad spot.
I'm right there with you. Like it's the same as a casino for me now. Like if I'm out having a good time and one of the boys is like, casino? And I'm like, all right, yeah, sure. Let's go to the casino for a couple hours. Let's see how it goes. And more often than not, it doesn't end in me being rich. So like, it's just like, all right, well, that was fun. I could go without doing that for a while like that.
Right.
And if that's the case, then I think it just remains a part of our culture. And it's just kind of something that's there and, something that we do socially. And that said, I think there will absolutely still be people that do it on a regular basis and talk about it all the time and all those things for sure.
Yeah, I just think there will eventually be some large, I guess, anti-crusade to like push back on what we're seeing right
now. For sure.
And the reason I say that is because
I've already seen a commercial. I saw a commercial tonight.
Yeah, well, what really got me thinking about it was someone and completely unrelated, but to tie it in, somebody posted a picture on like the Brown subreddit, and it was like a picture of old Municipal Stadium. And what stood out to me so much about this picture wasn't how cool it looked, but the gigantic Marlboro ad on the scoreboard.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
nice.
So you don't see that anymore because we've outlawed it. Even like alcohol commercials. I don't know if you guys know this or have noticed, but you'll never be able to unnotice it now. Nobody drinks in the ads. Like you can't show people drinking alcohol on TV. You can show people holding a Bud Light in the air or holding a Crown Royal, but you'll never see them touch glass to lip. And like, so what I'm saying
fucking is Don Draper down there? What's going on?
What I'm saying is, I just feel like we are bombarded daily. You watch anything sports related. It's this segment brought to you by DraftKings. That's the part to me that is the most banging over the head, because it's the same thing with like cigarettes, where it's like, I don't want this outlawed. I believe you have the choice and you should have the ability as an adult to make this decision. I also think it doesn't need to be like thrown in your face. Like you listen to any podcast, you watch anything on TV, sports related, you're going to hear something about DraftKings. And more than the ad itself, it's most of the ad is them reading fast all of the 1-800 numbers for gambling to make it even legal to do now. I think you'll have some politicians, some like Mothers Against Drunk Driving group that comes together. That's like, kind of shrinks it a little.
Some representative from fucking Mississippi is going to be.
Right. Well, and you said it, man. This is just also everyone is just capitalizing on the opportunity to make some revenue. Because all it takes is 2 or 3
also
guys
trying to get market share because it's so new.
Yeah,
right.
Like, as this consolidates 100%. And whatever, like.
Right.
And
that'll be interesting actually from the business side. That'll be interesting to me is which one of the first, which one of the big ones buys another big one first.
Yeah.
Right. Like when does FanDuel buy DraftKings or something of that nature? Right.
Right. Because I mean, ESPN Bets is fucking flopped, fellas. It's not doing well.
Well, and the thing about it is you've got some of these that are already tied in with the big ones, right? Like MGM. FanDuel is part of MGM. Right, like Caesars already has their sports.
Is FanDuel part of MGM?
I'm fairly certain it is. Yeah.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. I just didn't know that.
I'll fact check that right now. But yeah, so like you've already got some of these conglomerates that are already part of the big boys, which reside in Las Vegas, Nevada. Let me check this. Part of MGM comes up first. Let's see. BetMGM is a leader for online casino gaming, but FanDuel leads the way for online sports betting. Does not provide as many wagering. It's just comparing the two.
I don't think they're
Who owns? So no, Boyd Gaming owns FanDuel. So
because FanDuel and DraftKings started as those like daily fantasy. Remember that like that became like a thing at first, and then they like regulated it, and then eventually those companies turned into sports books.
So the reason I'm was thinking that is because you can go. There are FanDuel sports books in casinos.
Sure.
And Motor City Casino is one of those here in Detroit, which is owned by the Ilitch family. Which is a family.
Kroger's and Kroger locations in Cincinnati and Dayton are putting Barstool bet hubs.
Kroger's?
That's crazy.
Get your bananas and your props.
I will.
So that's what I'm saying to me. It's like, yeah, we used to smoke on planes. This isn't going to be a thing. Like, I think it's going to get rolled back. Can
you imagine just fucking smoking a non-filtered as you just sit down and getting ready to take off? That'd have been so sick.
But the funniest thing, and same
smacking the stewardess's ass.
I don't know why I saw this today. But I saw a video of like people air traveling in like the 60s. And yeah, they're all ripping heaters, but they're also not wearing sweatpants.
Yeah, they're all in suits.
Yeah, they're all in suits and like their best clothing possible.
That's a Louis bit, right? Doesn't Louis do a bit about that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think he does.
But
athleisure didn't exist then. It wasn't a movement yet.
It's funny because it's just like the level of being disgusting on the plane has changed. So they're like, all right, well, we're not going to smoke cigarettes anymore, but
I'm going to bring my whole bed set on the plane.
Right. All right,
yeah.
Cool.
Dude, great question about the sports betting stuff. No, that is
true.
I
literally saw a commercial tonight that was just like a couple on the couch, and it was just like, ding, free bet here, ding, bet here, and they're like trying to hide from it and shit like that. And like, yeah, there's already it's been noticed, right, by people, not us, in media.
Well, the way you just described that, Corey, have you seen the South Park bit with like the alcohol commercial where they're like, you, beer, liquor, hot women, more hot women, more beer, please
drink responsibly.
Great, that's a great question.
Yeah. What are the Easter plans for the weekend? And Todd and I are headed down to the Natty to see the fam.
We're hosting, and then we'll break our fast because it's the 31st. But that's not really the goal of it. We're gonna.
We won't tell Aaron.
Yeah, he is risen. Drink a fucking
risen,
beer.
dude.
Yeah. No, you know what? I have a non-alcoholic Guinness.
Hey, Joe Burrow.
It's very good.
You a Burrow guy now? And
no, not in the slightest.
Every time you buy a Guinness NA, a Guinness Zero, put money in JB9's pocket.
Is he like a sponsor?
He is.
Yeah.
He sponsors. They sponsor him, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Joe Burrow throwing regularly now.
Yep.
Ahead of schedule. So my nipples are hard.
Okay. Let's wait and see.
Yeah, dude, we're
dude. I just feel like he's just like, all right, fuck this, like killer mode time. Like he's just got to be so fucking pissed off.
I want to run the tape back of how you felt last year.
Why?
It sounds probably
like,
just
like it's just off season optimism, and I totally get it. Like it's the only drug.
You trying to fucking?
Yeah, I am. I don't root for your team.
You don't need to root for my team.
My off season,
is what?
Is be like, nah, maybe he doesn't come back, and it was good.
So your off season isn't spent thinking about like, oh, our team is cool.
No,
it's like,
no, it
fuck
is.
Corey's team.
It is, but
I spend zero time thinking about the Browns. Let me just put that out there.
I don't spend time thinking about it. You just brought it up, and I was like, yeah, maybe, hopefully not. I wasn't like sitting here like, I hope someone brings up Joe Burrow. I've been stirring in it all day.
You're the one drinking. Yeah, dude. I just think about him all the time.
I think it's funny, man. This is such an interesting time too, because you start. I believe today was the first full 7-round draft that was released on ESPN. And it gets me kind of juiced to look at like rounds 4 through 7 and be like, what's going on?
Where's my boy? Where's my boy?
Yeah, what's mixing up down here that
Where's my Logan Wilson?
Yeah, I want to find some. Yeah, I want this to be my Abacananda from Pitt last year. Be like, this is my guy that I want on my roster. I need that because all it takes is for me to be in a social setting and the Bengals drafting some, I don't know, guard from Ball State being like, yeah, dude, I saw that. I looked into this guy. He's 6'3", 335. I mean, 32, bench rep at the pro day. Like, he's the guy. I need that. There's like I don't know if you guys, maybe it's just because I'm a fucking weird guy. I don't know. Like, I have this. Well,
yeah, you are, but go on.
Yeah, I have this longing to be so well informed that I have to find like 8 to 10 players that I could be like, all right, if this guy gets drafted, I can immediately be like, I know where he went to school. I know what's good and bad about him. So that way, if it ever comes up 2 or 3 years down the road that this guy's starting, for someone to be like, I knew it. Maybe it's that gratification of being like, at least I knew who that guy was.
So my favorite
I need my Taco Bell ticker guy. That's what I'm saying.
I got you. I'm on the other side. My favorite is like when I think I know who they're going to draft and then they take somebody else. And then I'm watching the highlights. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just getting jacked up. I'm like, this guy fucks, dude. Yeah. He's going to be sick.
I've had this story. Me and my friends will talk about all the time because we were all together. And this is for the Cavs. So for basketball, it was the first iteration of LeBron and they drafted Christian Ianga. Nobody knows who the hell this guy is. He was just a high flyer, rim rattler type guy.
I remember that.
He was
guy. I remember that.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, but nobody knew who he was.
Right.
We were all like, "Who the fuck is this?" And then they start showing the highlights, and it's just him
just
throwing them down in empty gyms on like bamboo backboards, and like you were just like you were watching it, and you're like the grainiest gym footage you've ever seen, and we're like,
fuck you, raw talent.
Yeah, dude, this guy. And he came in and he averaged like 5 points a game. Sucked. Yeah. But that was our guy.
That is like
some
fun,
sick alley oops.
You turn on his highlight reel. It's like, hello, Moto, and it just fucking goes.
Pretty much.
I really like. And maybe that's something I've always been interested in, even like when I have not been like super well versed in the football world. Is like I love watching the later rounds and being like, all right, I'm gonna log this guy and I'm gonna see what happens. Because all it takes is for one of the people on the panel to react like overly positive to someone and be like, all right, I can get invested into this. Right? Like when the Bengals drafted DJ Ivey in the 7th round and nobody's watching it. And I'm the only person watching it in my cousin's living room and everyone else is socializing like they're supposed to be. I'm sitting there like, shit, dude, he played at Miami of Florida. That's got to be something, right? Like, I'm watching highlights like 6'2". What? They got this guy in the 7th round? Like, I don't know. It's just always been a weird.
I always wait until after the draft, and then I watch the YouTube videos. I'm like, all right, I see what they're seeing here.
Yeah. All right, Duke, you got it. Yeah, for sure. Let him cook. Let him cook. But or the worst though, this is just where there's like, and here is John Carter coming to the stage. John's mom was shot last week. It's like, what the fuck?
Put it in the graphic.
Yeah.
Where it's like 6'3", 4'3", 40, mother shot yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, what the
Sarah McLaughlin's playing as they're walking up to the podium. You're like, shit.
That is.
You know it's coming. Well, you know when someone gets a spotlight in like those later rounds that it's going to be something sad.
Yeah.
There's no way that somebody gets
round
that.
Now.
Yeah.
They have like no shame in it.
Quentin Jefferson. Bless me. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, that one's just great.
Yeah. Just draft day. It's phenomenal. We dodged a bullet. My work was scheduling a work event, like foaling and axe throwing. And they're like, oh shit, that's draft night. And we're like, well, we're gonna need to go ahead and move that to the next week, please.
Yeah.
Dodged a bullet there.
But that's
for
mostly
the first
Lions
time,
fans, right?
What's that now?
Because you're in Michigan, right? Is that mostly Lions fans?
Yeah, mostly Lions fans. People probably want to be downtown.
The
I
reason
guess.
I ask is because I'm loving this football town Detroit is turning into, or even like when they had their playoff game against the 49ers, GM was like, you know what? We're closing down today. Everyone should watch the Lions game. Like GM.
They also
like
they also close like for like 4 fucking weeks to end the year. So
there really is nothing better than when your city, everyone gets together and is like,
yeah.
Because we had that for like the Cavs parade.
Yeah.
Like I worked for a company that was like 200 people, but it was based here. So
yeah.
And I had just come back from vacation, so I was off Monday, Tuesday already, and then they were like, we're not coming in. And I was like, fuck yes. That's great. Like, you have to enjoy that shit.
Apparently last year, it's kind of in this, but
not to compare that all to the draft, but like,
no, it kind of circles all back to like where we started this. It's like, apparently like last year, I started a new job, and like apparently last year, like they got like a hot dog machine, like a nacho cheese machine and shit for opening day. Like kind of the similar sense of like Cincinnati opening day is a big fucking deal, right? Like I know everybody says opening day is a big deal. I'm just it's a big fucking deal. Anyway, like teachers don't, like, you have a substitute teacher a lot of the time, right? And I don't know that any of that's happening tomorrow, because I think a lot of people forgot tomorrow's like opening day.
It's fair.
A lot of people have forgotten that.
So the guards start on the road, but what's really cool is our opening day at home is Monday the 8th, which is the eclipse, and Cleveland is in the path of totality. So what they're doing is like a big like eclipse party, and then when the eclipse is over, first pitch.
Do you know what else is cool? I was in Utah for the one in 2017, and now I'm in Michigan.
That's dope.
For the one in 2024.
Nice.
So the sun revolves around me is what we're learning.
Sure. Where were you for the last one?
It's a choreocentric universe is what we're learning here. Where was I for the last one? At work. And I just stepped out back.
No, I meant the one prior to the one in Utah.
Oh, that's a good question.
Because 2 is a coincidence.
Well, let's wait till the next one.
Let's see where the next one is.
See where I live then. All right. I was just outside ripping a dart at work. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I was not in totality though. It was like 85%. So it didn't really get like super dark.
So that's not the same thing.
I'm not in totality again. I'm at like 95%. So whatever.
Come to Cleveland.
It's not that bad. It's what it doesn't really rev my engine a whole lot. An eclipse doesn't
it's
really.
Just a unique thing.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, for sure. I'm not gonna knock anybody for.
I mean, it used to make gods out of it.
They used to.
Could you imagine virgins, though, having no actual idea? Like, imagine it's like the year 1000.
What the fuck is going on?
What the fuck?
we gotta kill Tammy. We gotta kill Tammy. She's 16. That's why we gotta fucking kill her, dude.
Like, just my only thought would just be, well, that cannot be good.
Throw her in the volcano. Throw her in the volcano now.
Yeah, and animals go nuts because they're like, why is it nighttime?
Right. Yeah, right. You're applying logic to a universe that had no logic. So it's just fucking people archaically existing. Just like tossing people into on the frozen tundras and like just sacrificing people to the gods that are just now coming into existence.
I need to know, what is the full path? Is there a chance that it crosses a civilization where that is kind of the deal right now? Like they're completely cut off from society.
There really aren't many. I know there's the one in was it like the Amazon or whatever?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the flyby one, right? You can't even. Yeah. There's no like real access point.
All right, this is just the USA. I want the world one. Where is it going to be in the world?
That
NASA.
might be. Like I don't think you'll see it in Europe. I don't think you'll see it in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Just America. Fucking losers.
I mean, I have no idea. Basically,
greatest country on the planet. We get eclipses.
I would have loved to just be a fly on the wall, though. Like, if you could take a time machine and just be completely safe and just be like, take me back to the year 70 during an eclipse, and I just want to see these people freak the fuck out. It's like high above in my floating rocket ship. Look at those fucking idiots. It's just the moon, dipshit.
Oh, fuck. All right. I think that's a good place to end it for the night.
I like it.
All right, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. Todd, Bobby are not on tomorrow. It's opening day and college basketball. We can't.
Yeah, Sweet 16 opening day. I believe that the audience, the viewership would be 0. So
Todd, any as we exit, I want you to keep it brief here, but any comments for John Calipari?
This is just end it.
Okay. All right. Good night, everyone.